for me, it's not just been about the money, which is the best, the biggest fundraiser we've ever done and the easiest fundraiser we've ever done. But it's about some of those takeaways from the individuals that are part of our community. And that has been really special.
So welcome to this podcast with me, Chris Jones from the Firewalk Experience. I'm delighted to have a post breakdown of a Firewalk that we did just last week. With me is Kate Porter, the head chair of the PTFA. I've got to get it right because there are lots of different kinds of PTAs and PTFAs from St James's Primary School in Dudley, I believe, if my memory serves, up in right in the centre of England. Kate, how are you doing?
Really well, thank you, Chris. A week on.
Well, and how are your feet?
Absolutely fine.
Fabulous. So in a sentence, Kate, let's just share what your experience was. What was the Firewalk like for you?
Something like we've never seen before and completely uplifting and inspiring.
Wow, amazing. And how much did you raise, or should I say raise so far, because it's still coming in?
That's right. So at Sunday evening last week, so 24 hours after the experience, we were at just over £12,000 in the pot. And now we're somewhere around the 13,500 mark. But we're still getting cash donations coming in. We're still getting things through the Just Giving site. So it's been incredible.
It highlights one of the important things that we talk about during the seminar is the sustaining beyond the Firewalk. There's a lot of excitement around the Firewalk, but if you just keep that messaging going out, you can continue to take contributions to your campaigns. Now, the important question, what is it actually going to be used for?
So this money is going to be spent on toilets, which is really glamorous, I must say, but it's an essential part of school life. And a lot of people have been asking us, well, why aren't the LEA paying for this? Surely that's something that falls to them. And in most cases, it probably would. And school funding is at crisis point, but we're actually a church school. So our land is owned and our building is owned by the diocese. And they've already paid for quite a number of upgrades to the school in recent months. So that pot is running dry. So it falls to us to step in. And somebody said to me recently, if you're not changing it, then you're choosing it. So we could sit back and expect them to find the money, or we could do something about it. And that's what this was really, really for.
I think it speaks very much to your leadership and the team that you work directly with, because the energy in the experience was off the scale. It was unbelievably thrilling and exciting and exhilarating. And that all came from all those meetings we had on Zoom and just making sure everybody was in the right frame of mind, and that excitement spread through to the crowd. And it also highlights, I'm seeing this a lot as well with lots of schools who are just saying, yes, the government should really step in, but for whatever reason, they're not. And we have this problem over here, and we've just got to deal with it. Otherwise, it'll be another year or another 2 years, and it still won't be dealt with. So, Kate, let me ask you, how did you hear about us, and why did you choose to go on this crazy journey with us?
Well, I follow some of the Facebook groups to see what other PTAs are doing around the country. And I'd seen a post earlier this year, probably around March time, by Mindy Simons, who's part of another PTA. And she'd shared what a fabulous experience this had been, what a great fundraiser it had been for them. And I sat there one boring day and thought, we're going to do that. And that's where it all started. So before I even mentioned it to any of the rest of the committee, I got in touch with you and had a chat and was totally sold because you're very inspiring. I thought, actually, this is a real possibility. That's
amazing. I remember Mindy well. I believe she was wearing an entirely red onesie when she did her Firewalk. Okay, so let's whiz back to the very beginning, that phone call that we had. And then, once you kind of made the emotional decision to go with it and people were convinced, what was the process that you experienced from, working with us?
It's been so straightforward and so simple. And the timing has been a little bit unusual for us because we'd chosen to do it at the beginning of October, and we had this big expanse of summer holidays in the middle, where we sort of feared we would lose a little bit of momentum and had to start things probably earlier than we would have done. But in order to build that up, you guys helped us out with a really dramatic video to launch it as sort of a teaser, look what's coming, which got a lot of people interested on our Facebook page. And what I find fascinating about the Facebook page is you can post lots and lots of things and you get one reaction or interaction with people. You think, is anybody really seeing this? But when you drop something like that, all of a sudden you realise that all of those people are watching, and suddenly their interest is piqued and they want to know more. And that kicked it off for us, signing up those first few people before the holidays and having a Zoom call with you. So those people who were sort of, I'm not sure, do I want to do this? What does this involve? Could come along and find out what they were letting themselves in for.
Right. And I believe we shared some photos with you, which, you can put up on Facebook and help on your Just Giving page. And, I remember we talked about all the different revenue streams, because I think one of the things people forget or don't maybe are not fully aware of is the multiple revenue streams that you can get when you do a Firewalk. It's not just the Just Giving page. So what are the other ways that you started to find that money was coming in for you?
Well, for us, this was so important because at most of our events, we're expecting our school families to constantly dip into their own pockets to put the money in. And with this, we knew that we wanted to go beyond that into the wider community and see what we could achieve. So actually going out to some of the local businesses was really important. People that we don't normally go to because they can't offer something in way of donation for a raffle or things like that, but they've always wanted to help. So those people were willing to make a contribution. We also pushed out through press releases to local news and also to our local councillors and MP who actually ended up getting involved and have shared that event and their participation in that event themselves, and that's also generated some income from sources we never would have expected.
I remember, I've forgotten his name right. What was his name? Because he was sat in the front row to the right with a big grin on his face all the time.
Jason Griffin. I'm not sure he knew what he was in for, but he loved it.
Yeah, no, he was a great energy to have in the room right from the get-go, because he engaged with great questions and his energy was right up there right from the get-go. So that was amazing to have him there. So you managed to get sponsorship from other companies. Did you? I don't recall, but did you charge people to come and watch? Was there a fee, or did you not do that?
We did. So the firewalkers themselves were charged £40 to take part, and all of our spectators came along and paid £2 to come in, and we had around 350 spectators, which was incredible. So between the firewalkers and the spectators, we'd covered the cost of the experience itself, and then once those visitors were in, everything that they did while they were there, apart from food and drink, was free and included in that cost.
You also did a Lego walk, which we'll come back to at the end, but how did the Lego walk run with a fundraising perspective?
That was something that really got the children interested when it was mentioned in assembly. Talked about the Firewalk, and they were like, yes, that's brilliant. And then when they realised they weren't allowed to do that, there was a bit of that's a shame. But then there was the Lego walk, and then They got really excited. So we sent letters and sponsorship forms home to all children. It wasn't obligatory. They were allowed to come and take part anyway, but we've had quite a number of children go out and get sponsorship, including one of our youngest, who was only 4 years old, in our reception class, new to the school, and she's come in with £240 of sponsorship just for walking on the Lego.
Wow. And it's a really important thing as well, because, I find it gives the kids something to do that looks scary, but is completely safe. I mean, we do other things during the Firewalk training, and often, we do a glass walk, and sometimes I've offered up a glass walk or a Lego walk at the beginning, and everybody chooses the Lego walk, assuming that's going to be much easier. But for adults, a Lego walk is way harder and more uncomfortable than a glass walk. But we'll swing back to the Lego walk a little bit later. So the revenue streams, did you make any money out of flipping burgers, or was that just they were just doing a service for you?
We did in terms of the pitch fee. Normally at our events we do it all ourselves in house, but we wanted to make sure this time, firstly, everybody got a chance to watch and take part if they wanted to, and some of that barbecue team had actually signed up, so we were thin on the ground. But they did come along. We did have food vendors come along and contribute in terms of a pitch fee. We also ran a bar, which we did ourselves with a license, and that brought in some extra money. We had a parent who makes cakes. She came and helped us, donated some of her takings. So there were lots of other things going on, and everybody afterwards said that it was a really lovely social feel to it. So rather than feeling that you had to go around and do all of these things, everyone was chatting and enjoying themselves prior to the actual walk.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that Mindy said when I had her on the podcast as well, that unlike most events, like a Christmas fete or a summer event where almost all the PTA members are running around like headless chickens dealing with 101 problems, the nature of this, if you kind of embrace it, you kind of don't need a huge amount of people doing much. That means everybody can kind of enjoy it and participate fully.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the people who were sort of on those sort of extra games that we've got running, everything shut down before the Firewalk. We secured everything that needed to be secured and made safe, and then everybody could go down to the field and watch what was happening.
Right. And on the day, so let's talk about the day. We arrived, I want to say something like 3:00 or 2:00, set up the room, and then the fire crew set up on the playing field, protecting the field so that it wasn't damaged, and put up a perimeter fence around it so that all your amazing spectators could watch it and see it clearly. But in the room, as we began, what was the energy like for you?
It was quite unusual. There was a lot of nervousness, I thought. I'm not sure. When people arrived and they walked into the room, it was a real mix of people. They didn't know each other. The odd few did. So there was that element to it, and the unknown happening. And it was, at that point, I didn't quite know how this was going to go. But it very, very quickly changed, and everybody warmed up really quickly. And it was a really nice vibe in the room. And
then when we came to the actual Firewalk, the moment of truth, the sun had set and those embers were being laid out on the path. What was your personal experience walking? Because we got quite long with your Firewalk. I think we got to like 5 or 6 meters, which is, we start at 3, but we keep making it longer as we do more and more walks. But what was your personal experience like?
It was really strange because I'd not really given it much thought ahead of the day or even during the training about what was to come. I was really focused on the people in the room and how they were responding and that general feel, which is where I tend to go anyway, but to the people. But going out there, the first most overwhelming thing was the screaming and shouting and all of the people who were there. And they didn't see us coming at first, but as soon as they did, the energy just went up really high, and going down and everybody was connecting with their own family. And so I didn't have to wait long. I think I was second to walk on it. And I didn't give it a second thought. And I hadn't given much consideration to whether I'd do it once or twice or 3 times. But I think I was swept along by all of the other people who were doing it with me, and they just wanted to keep going. And even those who sort of said, I've done it now, I'm fine, they hovered and then they went, oh, go on. And they went for it again. And we had people walk 4 times, which was really inspiring. And it felt like we bonded all doing it, considering we were such a random bunch of people to start with. It was great.
I agree with you. Like, my personal experience having run hundreds of Firewalks, by far the best most energetic ones are with school PTAs when the PTA board or members of the PTA have really done their organising well, and that moment when we come out and the sun has set and the fire's being laid out and everybody can see what it really is, and like it's no longer this thing they're going to do. They can see it. They can see those embers glowing, and then that roar from the crowd, and you just feel like a rock star just walking in. And then what I particularly love about these events is when the kids can sense it's either a teacher or a TA who's doing it, and they know the person doing it. All the kids know it, and they go crazy. And it's such an experience to feel that energy from the group.
Absolutely. And I think our biggest cheer came for our vicar
That's
from
right,
our
yes.
local church. And she was the last one to do the first walk.
Yeah.
And she's got some really obvious health challenges, but she was absolutely determined.
Yeah.
The children all know her from coming into school and from going to church. And the parents, I think, were really amazed that she was willing to give it a go, and that was a really special moment for us.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going over to her just to make sure, are you sure you're going to do it? And she gave me this look of steel. Nothing is going to stop me. I was like, okay, let's do it. It was amazing. We also were very lucky in so much as part of your community. Lisa was a photographer, and she came along and took brilliant photos.
Yeah, and she's just by going out and meeting people and engaging with people. I've not known her for long, but just having a conversation and getting involved and getting to know somebody, found out what she does in her spare time, and she came along and everybody was really at ease with her, and she's got some amazing photographs to capture the whole experience from start to finish. And that's been a big part of our post-event campaign, being able to share those images with our community.
Right. And I had a good chat with Lisa maybe 6 weeks ago, a month ago, about how to get the very best from the photographic opportunities, because it is super difficult to take photos of a firewalk where you can see the person's face and you can see the glowing embers, because you're fundamentally taking photos in the near dark of somebody moving very quickly, which anybody who knows anything about photography is like quite literally the worst thing you could have to photograph. But there are tips and techniques and cheeky things that we can do to help with that. So I always say to all the organizers, if you have a photographer in the group, and usually with a group of 30 people, there is somebody who's pretty handy with a good DSLR and has a good fast lens, then I'd have a chat with them and help them get the very best photos for that exact reason that you're talking about, that it is, once the event has happened, you need to start carpet bombing Facebook again and giving all of the walkers a photo of themselves saying, look, that's me walking on fire. Go on, give us another $5. And that final push does bring in more people. So yeah, brilliant. Well done. Thank you, Lisa. Great job. So let's turn our attention back to the Lego walk. And normally we don't manage it. On this occasion, Lucia and Jack, my son, did manage it. But I remember you had a couple of PTA members handle the running of it. And, every child gets to walk once, which is really code for every child is going to walk 25 times.
That's exactly it.
Because they have such a brilliant time doing it. But we gave the kids stickers, didn't we? And they had a terrific time doing it. What's your, what advice would you offer about running a Lego walk as well as a parallel fire walk?
I think having the children have been really given the buzz, as I said, in the assembly. So they'd been shown photographs, which you'd shared with us, by the head teacher. They'd been talked through it. They were already buzzing for it. It's what they'd been looking forward to. And it's probably their first port of call when they came down. Some of them had got the sponsorship, so having that sticker was really important. I'd asked my husband to take photos of our children. They were too quick. They'd run away. They'd done it on their own. They had nothing to show for it, but they had the sticker. So they'd been showing everybody their stickers when they came away.
Yeah.
And all of the children I've spoken to have had a great time seeing some of their techniques on the photographs that we've circulated afterwards were wonderful. But we'd reassured all the parents in advance with the sort of safety guidelines. We'd got everything spare in case someone turned up without socks, but it was October, so they were likely to have their socks on anyway. And even as I say, even the smallest children got involved and did it and had a great time doing it, smiling all the way.
Right, amazing. So I think we've kind of covered everything that I wanted to cover. I guess, do you have any thoughts, anything else you want to share?
I think the biggest thing that I've realised from doing it is that everybody has a reason to get involved. And some of the first people to sign up were the people that had the biggest reason, perhaps, that thought, I've been looking for something and this is it. And there were people who joined afterwards with all of the buzz, and they might have been pushed by their children to do it, or they actually thought, oh, this isn't for me. And when they saw actually there's some normal people signing up to this, maybe I could, they got involved. But hearing afterwards what it meant to some of the individuals, and lots of people have shared some really personal things after that experience, it makes it all really, really worthwhile. So for me, it's not just been about the money, which is an amazing, the best, the biggest fundraiser we've ever done and the easiest fundraiser we've ever done, got to be honest. But it's about some of those takeaways from the individuals that are part of our community. And that has been really special.
Right.
And that includes myself. I'm in recovery from OCD. So for me, 5 years ago, taking my shoes off and walking around my own house was just a no-go. So to go out there and walk on broken glass, then through the whole school, onto the fields and across the embers was a huge thing. And I did it without even thinking. And it's only looking back, and I think this is the same for a lot of the people, you look back and think, wow, I just did that.
Right.
Who knew?
Right. That's amazing to hear. And thank you for sharing that. It is part of the training that, I always begin saying we're obviously here for St. James's Primary School, but we're also here for ourselves. And there may be something that we get out of this personally, whether it's to do with work or with your family or with your personal life. And that always does kind of ripple to the top with some people who have a breakthrough. I always say at the beginning as well, we have 3 major outcomes of doing a firewalk. I'm not going to share on the podcast now. We'll keep that as a secret for the seminars. But there's always something unique and extraordinary that comes out of every firewalk, because it is a bit like it's a moment of clarity and reflection, where I sometimes characterize it as like being in a minor car accident where nothing's really happened, but you have that moment where you go, oh, hang on. And it makes you really think about what you're doing and how we've got stuck in a routine, and it'll bump us out of the routine in order to look through the prism of life through a slightly different direction, maybe modify our choices, and make different choices, or have difficult conversations. There's a hilarious story which I did share, which I'm happy to share on the podcast, about we did what it was a PTA again, where one woman, the organizer, the equivalent of you, Kate, she got her husband to do it, and he was like, this is a sponsored walk. I'm like, yeah, it's the shortest sponsored walk you'll ever do, and you'll move really fast. But he really didn't want to be there. And she, after we did it, he kind of sat at the back with his arms crossed, basically just resenting being in the room because he probably wanted to watch the football or something. And then a week later, she rang me and said, I don't know what you did to him, but he built the shed. It's been sitting in the back garden for 3 years, and he built it. He got up and said, I'm going to build a shed. So even for the resistant people, they will get something out of the firewalk that is unexpected, perhaps is the best way to describe it. So as we bring this to a conclusion, Kate, and thank you for all your insight and knowledge, and I hope it will help other people who are running PTAs make a decision, because you probably raised somewhere in the region of like 8 or 9 or 10 times more than the actual event cost.
Absolutely.
And that's a crazy return on investment. But if if I was to ask you, what advice would you offer yourself or other people? Let's flash back to listening to that podcast with Mindy when you got all inspired. What advice would you offer to yourself or to other people who may be listening to this thinking, should I, shouldn't I?
I would say just go for it. And my team regularly say that I come up with bonkers ideas, and this is probably the most bonkers idea, but getting their buy-in has been crucial. Getting the school's buy-in has been crucial, and getting that social media campaign, having somebody who's really committed to that, really creative and really believes in it, and that's been an emotional ride for them as well, actually.
Right.
Getting all of that through and having to process it, and it really is one of the easiest things you could do. So while it sounds super scary and like you could never achieve this on your school field, it's really, really easy, and all you need to do is believe.
And what a brilliant way to conclude this podcast. Kate, thank you so much for being with us. And hopefully we'll see you on that same playing field in a year's time, and we'll do it all over again.
They're already asking what's coming next.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.